All right, to my viewers, welcome once again. This is Dennis Ondari, a mental health advocate, and I'm so passionate about children. So today, I'm just from the streets of Nairobi. I decided that I need to take the message of mental health awareness to the streets, and it is time we got out of the boardrooms where we always have this discussion. I decided that since children have come home for the long holiday, it's actually a 7-week holiday, I knew some parents must be wondering how to go about it, especially having children in the house. For that reason, I thought of educating you on some of the things you need to do as parents and even as children so as to spend your holiday well. So with me, I have a flip chart here, and you can see it is written, children mental health matters. So, if children mental health matters, then what are we supposed to do? Dear parents, encourage your children to do the following. 1, to freely share their feelings and experiences. I know it's been a long time since you had enough time with these children at home, considering the fact that here in Kenya this year we've had 4 terms in a single year. That means most of the time the children have been in school and they have seen it all. As a caretaker, I can tell you the stories we hear from these children. Sometimes we sympathize, but we don't lose hope. We keep encouraging them. As a parent, also take time to listen to those stories and their experiences. I'm sure they will be thankful. Number 2, you need to freely share, to focus on their strengths. So encourage them to focus on their strengths freely. By strengths, basically, we are talking about things that they can do best. One could be a good singer, encourage them to sing. One could be a good athlete, encourage them to be going for evening and morning runs. One could be good at playing drums. You can take them to church, let them play drums. Those are some of the strengths these kids could be having. Some could be very good when it comes to performing house chores. Let them take them up. And also, some could be having leadership qualities which they can offer to their younger siblings or even cousins. Let them do that. Number 3, encourage them to do right things that make them happy. We all want to be happy. Actually, I believe in life, at every other moment, unless it is unavoidable, we need to be happy. Come on. Yeah, for example, what could make one happy? Cooking, dancing, watching a movie. Those are things that can make these children happy. Some just like watching birds. Like you can see where I'm seated, you can hear birds chirping. Encourage them to undertake such roles so that as they gain happiness, definitely their mental aspect is going to be upright. Number 4 is to engage themselves in physical activities. Physical activities are good, and they ensure that these learners are actually growing healthy, their bones are strong, and even general body fitness. Because without physical fitness, then you can be sure even their bodies are not going to respond well. When you are not fit physically, you cannot be fit even emotionally. You cannot be fit even spiritually, because you need that physical fitness for you to kneel and pray. You need that physical fitness for you to go to church and praise. Without it, you can be sure then no goals are going to be achieved. Then encourage them to get enough sleep. I know this is a moment when children tend to watch movies, play PlayStation late into the night. It gets to 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, boys and girls are not sleeping simply because they want to cling onto a laptop, maybe onto the screens of a television and watch movies. Sleep is good. Encourage them to have good sleep so that they can grow. They are still growing. Good sleep will also boost their mood. Then encourage them not to watch horror movies. So that means you actually need to encourage them to watch encouraging movies, inspiring movies, movies that they can get good lessons from. Most of the time I've seen children who have actually a disconnect with reality because of watching horror movies. Like now I remember 1 year ago, I had a good friend of mine who was my client, and I can tell you that child had a problem and he always looked absent-minded, he looked lost. And when I tried to dig into his story, I realized he had watched so many horror movies until he was not in touch with the reality. So when it gets to that level, it may not be easy to reverse. To avoid such, just let them keep off horror movies and get to be encouraged. Also, let's have our children not to overeat. I know some schools don't give these children enough food, so when they come home, some are feeling like it is the last meal they are seeing, or rather the first meal they are seeing. They may tend to overeat, and overeating may not be so good for them. They may put on so much weight, and that can even result to other health conditions or health problems like high blood pressure, obesity, and the likes. Then lastly, encourage children to report any form of harassment. Of course, harassment are there, and how a child gets to handle the experience is different, but they will cope with the experience depending on how you are going to encourage them. If, for example, a child has been beaten in a football match, physically beaten, and they come home, they don't share to anyone, they might feel hopeless, they might feel rejected, and if they don't share out and get a word of encouragement, probably it may go a long way in affecting their emotions, in affecting their social relations, and they even start losing trust in people. So to ensure that these boys and girls are growing up well, they have good mental health, good physical health, good social life, let's encourage them to do all that I've written here. Now, as parents, what are we supposed to do? Do we just sit back, encourage boys and girls to undertake these duties and responsibilities, and as we have nothing to do? Of course, no. There is much we can do. So let's have a look. Here is what we can do as parents. Can see there, to give active audience to our children, meaning to actively listen to our children. By actively listening, it means you are showing interest in what the child is telling you and you are responding appropriately. Feel with the child, be empathetic. Let the child know that even as they are sharing with you, then you are able to listen, you are able to identify with whatever situation they are sharing and show their concern that you are ready to help them come out of that. Number 2, don't be too quick to judge, meaning Let us be slow in judgment. I know as human beings, it's normal that at times you feel, no, this shouldn't have been like that. Oh, he shouldn't have done this. She shouldn't have done that. Let us be slow to judge. You never know. Because in this life, there are so many things that take place. Then many times we get overwhelmed with emotions, we get overwhelmed with the situations, and then we take actions, we make decisions, which later on you feel, I shouldn't have made such a decision. So even as parents, let us be really slow in making judgment and get to listen to the story. Number 3, don't avoid tough topics like sex education. So that means we should actually get into discussion with our children when they bring up tough topics. Some of them are now getting into puberty, and as they're getting into puberty, there are so many body changes taking place, and some are confused, some get worried, some get traumatized because they have seen things which probably have never happened in their lives before. So when such a topic comes up, take some time, don't shy off. This is 21st century, and these things, if they are talked about freely, then you can help that child to grow up knowing what is right, what is wrong, what to do, what not to do. They will grow knowing what sex is all about, and when is it the right time to engage into such matters. As parents, let's not shy off. Then number 4, we should stop making comparison with other children. What do I mean? Why can't you be like so and so? So and so's daughter, she's so committed, she got an A in her end of term exam, that boy got a B plus in his end of term exam, that boy did that boy did that. When you make comparison, you are beginning to intimidate these children. And when a child feels intimidated, they tend to lose their self-esteem. And trust me, parents, once the child begins to have low self-esteem, it will be very hard to help such a child. Let us understand that these children, they are different, they are quite dynamic, and they all have their unique abilities, unique talents. Just try to identify a talent in your child, and if possible, try to help them nurture that talent. We are all different, all right? For example, I'm a good dancer, by the way. I dance very well, but I know of a brother of mine who has 2 left legs. He can't dance, not even a basic move. So if my mother was to make comparison between my brother and I, you can be sure my brother today maybe could not even be willing to stand and talk before people. But because they understood we are all different, that is where we are here. Then we should request to meet their friends. As a parent, it is always good to know your children's friends. If possible, request your sons and daughters to bring their friends home. You get to meet them, you get to know them, you also need to know from a higher level and get to know their parents. Through that, you are able to compare notes as 2 parents parenting in 2 different families. Share experiences, share the benefits that you're getting through these children, the challenges you are going through as a parent. Probably the challenge you're having could be similar to what the other parent is having. Then through such a discussion, you will obviously strike a way forward. Then we should also assign our children duties with the targets. Assign duties with the targets. If, let's say, you are saying, Tracy, you'll be washing dishes today. Martin, you'll be splitting firewood. Just an example. Can you ensure that Stacy has washed those dishes and they have been properly done? And if the target has not been made, what are you supposed to do? Then there's supposed to be a consequence for that. By setting targets, you are making these children to actually be responsible, and then to understand that doing some of these basic duties, it is part of life. I know many times they tend to think that while in school they will pass, go to university, get good jobs, and then start working. And some will even imagine that they will even employ someone to wash their dishes, to spread their beds. No, those are basic things that children should actually be undertaking. So of course, whoever performs well, it is not bad if you reward. If you have 2-3 children and you feel so and so has done his work in good time and it is well done than the other one, I think if you reward them, it will also encourage the spirit of excellence and people trying to work within timelines. Let us show children compassion. Love compassion. Show concern. Show them that you care. Tell them you love them. They will learn to trust you. They will learn to love you back in return. Let us not be too harsh. Let us not put barriers between ourselves and the children. Through compassion, they are really going to open up, and they are even going to learn more and support you as a parent. Remember, you also need so much from these children. They have so much potential. Number 9, correct them with love. If a child has done a mistake, and we know that there's no perfectionist and there's nothing that can happen without a mistake coming through. In case a child maybe goes astray, or they don't do things according to your expectations, or maybe you had a certain way you wanted them to do things, but maybe they went overboard, find a way of correcting them with love. As you do it with love, they will take the correction positively, and definitely you will see them willing and ready to change. Lastly, make time to have fun with them. Have fun with the children. If you are a good dancer, for example, by the way, I'm a good dancer, just that I may not have the music. It's always good. Make time, dance. If it is singing, you are a good singer. Get time, sit down with your children. Like me, I sing tenor. Glory to God, glory God. Such such simple things will build the bond between you and your children. They will make them understand that my father likes this, my mother loves this, and through such actions, you'll be very close. You'll even help them unleash some of the potentials they have, because it's through these fun moments that you will learn that, oh, my daughter is very good at swimming, my boy is very good at football. Then you can tap such talents through such experiences. Thank you very much. Remember to subscribe and share that link so that we build up this young generation. Thank you so much. Once again, this is Ondari Dennis.